Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video, we're going to populate this simple layout with a lot of traffic. We're going to go through the industries and what types of goods might get involved, and we quantify the traffic. Let's get started. So on my new layout, I wanted to model a interchange with a short line, because I like short line operations, and interchange will give a lot of operational diversity, classifying and building and terminating small trains from the short line. So this is the very basic setup. There's an interchange here, and there's a short line off to the right, and then the interchange connects to a main line that heads both west and east. This is just a diagram. This and all this work we're going to be showing in this video is well before any switches are laid or trailing points or leading points are determined or anything like that. This is just a high over to start getting an idea and a grasp of what kind of traffic and industries am I going to have on my layout. So working this out a bit, I would imagine this main line just to be a giant loop, and there's a staging somewhere hidden that both represents both east and west directions of traffic. If I have enough space, I can have a small industry or a town on the main line as well, just to change things up a bit on the operations. And then there's the short line, branch line, short line, you can debate how to call it. So working this out a bit more, you see we have the branch line in yellow, so I have A, B, C, D locations, and let it be noted that in B and D there is a siding where two trains can meet. This is important because the amount of sidings determines how many trains you can have on your layout. Now looking a bit more at the industries and starting to slowly fill that in, there is a meatpacking at the interchange, and there's a brewery here at the end of the line. And I like the meatpacking because it has a very large variety of cars coming into it, everything from stock cars to coal and oil cars for the power plant, and reefers obviously, box cars, and more or less the same for the brewery. It doesn't have stock cars, but it does have the covered hoppers for all the hops and barley and wheats coming in. So the brewery is also located at the end of the layout, so that will generate a lot of traffic that has to go up and down from the interchange to the end of the line, and a lot of switching and interchanging between east and west as well for the brewery traffic. Something else I wanted is a mine at the end of the line, basically going through the interchange and then to a smelter or a receiver of coal at the staging at the west side, just to have a nice long drag of coal going through my layout. This was originally going to be an ore mine. I later changed it to a coal mine. That's why it still says smelter. So now we've just defined a bit of the big industries. We have to go into more detail on which traffic might come and go from the separate industries. Let's start with the meatpacking. The meatpacking is located at the interchange, and it will receive stock cars, amongst others. There's one large stock pen in the west of the country. Cars are going to come from there, go through the interchange, and then be spotted at the meatpacking. And there's a local small stock pen on my layout at location C. So the local going from D to the terminal at the interchange will pick up the stock car at C, drop it off at the interchange, and then it will be spotted at the meatpacking. All the reefers and box cars coming from the meatpacking will then be spotted at the interchange and then be picked up by the west or east going train. So the meat distributor here is basically a black hole, and they have meat distributors both in the west and the east side of the country. So if you find this a bit confusing, let me just put some guidelines. So this is going to be a big table with a lot of industries down below, and it can all be read in a vertical manner. So all the cars destined or coming from the staging west will be in this column. So in this case, it's the stock pen and the meat distributor. Staging east, there's also a meat distributor as we went through. And so on and so on. So let's take the lines away. Let's look at the meatpacking a little bit more. Another facet I like for the meatpacking, there's a lot of, let's call it lubricants and liquids coming from the meat. So that will go to a lubricant factory that is located in town B on my layout. There's also a small meat distributor at the end of the line at D, so there's going to be some reefers heading that way, and in turn the lubricant that comes from the lubricant factory will go out to both east and west to a lubricant distributor. So that is the meat packing. If we continue on and just plot in the other industries, there is a paper mill off the layout on the east that's going to be important for us. There is, well, I call it tools, barrels, and kegs. Basically a packing. They also make boxes and other packing material located in town B. There's, as I said, the mine at the end of the line and the brewery at the end of the line. So let's start filling the traffic flows in here as well. So start with the paper mill, just to spell it out again if it's not clear. So there'll be several cars coming in from the paper mill. From the east, it will be dropped off at the interchange, and there it will be distributed throughout the layout. So one car will immediately be spotted at the meatpacking because it's in the same location, and then the local will go up the line and distribute one at the tools, barrels, and kegs, which is located in town B, and the next one at the end of the line at D, at the brewery that's there. So let's continue. The tools, barrels, and kegs. There's all kinds of miscellaneous items coming in from the east, and then there's packing material going into the meatpacking, there's material going into the brewery, and there's a lot of material going out to the east and the west. So the mine, I have a power plant at town B, a small one, a small local coal dealer at location A, and at the interchange at the terminal is a coal tower for the steam trains, as I am modeling the transition era, and there's a large client for coal at the west. So basically this means we're going to have drags of coal going from D straight all the way to the interchange, and most of the cars will then be picked up and go to the west, and a few of them will go back up the line and spotted at A and B and the meatpacking. So as you see, it's starting to get a little bit complex, but don't worry, it's going to be made easy soon enough. But let's add a little bit more complexity first. Cattle feed. There's a cattle feed located at location A. It will receive covered hoppers from a mill in the west, and it will receive some hoppers from the brewery, as the brewery has a waste product that goes into cattle feed. And then the brewery itself, it will receive bottles from bottle factory, grains, hops, and malts. All goes in, all comes off layout, all has to go through the interchange, up the line, and what comes out is beer, obviously, which will go through the distributors, a small one located in location A, and the rest on the east and west side of the country. And then last but not least, we have a small local oil dealer here at C, and we receive oil at the terminal for refueling the diesel locomotives. And then we have the team tracks. What's nice about them is that they can receive almost any type of car in my era, so this is something you can easily use to generate more traffic or to load off a bit of the traffic too. So the team tracks, I just put them literally in as a one-liner and take them a little bit out of consideration for the rest of the traffic flow. So now we have an overview of what's supposed to go where. Now we need to quantify everything. So how many cars go where, etc., etc., and then that will determine as well how many spots we need. So we just basically do that. A lot of numbers just popped up on the screen. So let's start with the cattle feed as a short example. And after that, you can pause the screen just to read it and digest it perhaps a bit. There's one car coming in from the mill. As you see here, it says number 1. It goes to the right, and one car is received, the same one. Same from the brewery, it will give one car that will go and be received at the cattle feed as 1. This means if you receive one car every day from both locations, you're going to need 4 spots. As I use the car card system, which is explained in my video number 14, which you can watch after this if you haven't done so already, you basically have your 3 stations at your way bills. You have your ins, your outs, and your holds. So if one car comes every day, that means you're going to have one car on the in box, one car on the hold box, and then the next day one car will depart in the out box and a new one will come in. So you don't need a separate spot for that, just going to need 2 spots. As we have 2 different lines of traffic coming in, one from the brewery and one from the mill, you're going to need 2 plus 2, which is 4 spots. But on my layout, this is a small cattle feed, and I don't want to have cars coming in on such a regular basis. I'm only going to have one car just ping up and down here, and then one car ping up and down here. So at any given time, there might be 0, 1, or a maximum of 2 cars at the cattle feed location. If you want to spruce things up a bit and change it up, I could add a 3rd car that would just go from the mill to the feed and then empty to the brewery and then back to the feed and empty to the mill, just to get a little bit more traffic. So I hope that explains the quantities, but this image doesn't give any real overview. All the information's here, but it needs to be condensed a bit. Let's just have a look as an example how I condensed it. Let's start with all the ingoing traffic. So I took everything out. I'm only looking at the ingoing traffic right now. So you see we have stock cars, hoppers from the mill, bottles, grain, and cars from the refinery coming in from the west. And from the east, we got cars from paper mill, miscellaneous for the tools and barrels and kegs, and hops and malts coming in from the east. So it's a total of 3, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, and 3, 17 cars. Now we go to the next diagram, a flow chart. 17 cars. Here you see the number 17. What does that mean? We got 17 cars coming in, of which 5 from the east and 12 from the west. If we just go back, we see from the east, we got paper mill, 3 cars, miscellaneous, 1, hops and malts, 1, 1 plus 1 plus 3 is 5. Here you see the 5 coming in from the east. So this is just another overview to visualize traffic that will be coming in. Again, read this vertical, so 12 coming in from the west, 5 coming in from the east, etc, etc. So let's fill this in a bit more. Here we go. On the top, we have all the incoming traffic, because yes, we also have incoming traffic from our short line. The gray bar is a full load coal that goes in. The maximum train length is 8, so we got 8 cars coming in addition to 5 going straight from D, and then the local is going to pick up 2 more here at C, and then 3 more here at B, and then drop off 2 at A, and then arrive with 8 cars here as well. And then in the bottom of the screen are all the outgoing cars, outbound traffic from the interchange. So we got 7 and 8 going out to the staging areas, and then we got 8 cars going out to the meat packing, and then we have 19 cars up the branch line. So these are all the full cars that are going to be shuffled around the layout. The traffic is actually twice the amount, as you also need the empty cars in the first place. So where you see here these 8 full cars with coal coming into the interchange and then going out to the staging west, at some point will all come back as empty cars, as incoming traffic, and then outbound traffic from the interchange all the way to D. So basically the amount of traffic is double, but that said, as with the car card system, I'm not going to have cars being received for every industry every day. So we have the in and outbound traffic and traffic on hold, so that basically halves the traffic again. So the thing to take away here is all this traffic that goes through the interchange. So now I have an idea of how to space the interchange. So how many classifying tracks you want at the interchange? We could have 1 track for east, 1 track for west, and 1 for the branch line, and perhaps a separate one for local switching and or to handle all the coal traffic. And then what's the capacity of each track? Well, you got at one given time 17 plus 8 cars coming in. And I think a general rule of thumb is you want to have your capacity double of what you're going to get. So 17 plus 8 times 2 would be the total capacity of these 4 tracks. And then last but not least, all of this is including the team tracks and the additional warehouses that are located on the layout as well. So this is all what I wanted to share with you today. This is how I build up from the ground the traffic and the spots on my layout. So the next step would be to start defining the layout and make a track plan. And what I would recommend is first make a line diagram, and then once you have a line diagram with some dimensions, then I would recommend to try to squeeze it all into your room. We're not going to do any of that in this video. Whilst I was doing that, I found that my space is far too small for everything I want to model in the way that I envision it. So I basically stopped this project right here. But it did make for an interesting video on how to quantify traffic. So if you like this content and if you want to see more, please don't forget to subscribe and like and donate to my channel. How to do that is all mentioned in the description down below. Thank you very much, and that's all for now.